Spoilers and Fandom is like a book club for geeky stuff. Join us as we delve into the depth of our backlogs and sift through the games, comics, shows, movies, and books that we haven't checked out yet. Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of Spoilers and Fandom. Yes. I'm Sujay.
I'm Hillary.
AKA
Hilla2K2.
Right. And today we're going to talk about Deadhouse Gates, but there's a caveat. Hillary still hasn't finished it.
Yeah, I'm kind of slow when it comes to these things.
He's about third way through, roughly.
Yeah, because I had to finish Gardens of the Moon first, which I did, and then as of now, I think I'm 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
So
you did like Gardens, right?
I really did like Gardens.
How did you feel finally finishing it?
Long overdue. I felt actually very satisfied that I did get to the end of the book.
Yeah.
And it's easy. Okay, for me, it's easy to say. Like, it took me way longer than it needed to get hooked to these books.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm feeling kind of like, I'm feeling kind of sad that I didn't pick up on them before.
Yeah.
Like, earlier than this. Because I remember, like, even when I told you about the books, I told you this is something that I haven't read in over 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because my pals introduced them to me, and I was like, I'll read them, and I just never.
You just kept putting it off.
Yeah, I just kept putting it off. So now that I finished the first book, and it was so good, like now I'm recommending it to everyone. Now I'm them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping, I really do hope that the guys who have been holding off on these books pick them up. Like, honestly, yes, it's going to be a bit difficult. Yes, it might be a bit trying for you, but trust me. If you're a fan of like deep, engaging stories, this is definitely it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's book one.
And that's
now I'm in book two.
Deadhouse is another ball game.
Yeah, Deadhouse is wild. It's special, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing differently, because he hasn't read the book, and this might be something that we're doing from here on out, is we might split every episode into the spoiler-free episode and the spoiler episode. So what we're going to do today is just talk about the book as much as we can.
Yeah, keep us sparse details.
Yeah, and I'm not going to do any spoilers. That said, it's really hard to talk about this stuff without having read Gardens of the Moon.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that in a bit. I'll still try,
yeah,
but it's definitely a sequel to that book, so it's a little tricky. But yeah, let us know what you think.
Yeah, if this is a format that you guys are okay with,
yeah,
we'll probably start doing this as well.
Yeah, and kind of removes the need to put timestamps for me, which is okay. It wasn't so bad, but it takes a bit off. It makes more sense if you're listening on audio. Yeah. Plus, I don't think the episodes will be as long, so it might be easier to digest as well.
Yeah, because you could probably get like about... Okay, yeah, that's now on the flip side. If you're a fan of the longer episode, these ones now may be about 20 to 30 minutes.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see how this one is.
Yeah, because there's a lot to talk about with this book.
But that's if we do the spoilers.
Yeah,
like you see now, that's the thing. I think what we can
I actually think the spoiler... Well, we'll see. I think the spoiler parts are actually shorter than the non-spoiler parts. I think.
Okay, because the specific things that you'd spoil.
Yeah. But like let's see. We'll know now. I guess what we need to cut down
Uncharted waters.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're talking about Deadhouse Gates, the second book of the Malazan Book of the Fallen series, and I did the audio version, which is about 30-something hours long.
Yeah.
And you're flip-flopping between...
I'm doing both. I'm doing the print version, the ebook, and I'm doing the audio version.
Yeah.
Sometimes concurrently.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's just start first straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Reading this book, I've said it to you, I think, off the podcast, or I might have mentioned it. The way when I read this book, it changed my perspective on how I consume content. And I'm the type of person who leaves like when I'm eating food, I leave the best tasting thing for last as like a reward. And I keep doing that with these kinds of things. If I really like something, I'll wait for a while. And then when I feel like I need something good, I'll do it. That is no longer going to happen because like this book heavily like it is a direct sequel to Gardens of the Moon. So there are new characters who have been mentioned very briefly in passing from Gardens of the Moon who I just couldn't remember stuff about because I'd read that a while ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want that to happen again because I don't want to, like, literally in the second chapter, I'm like, crap, should I read Gardens of the Moon as well? Like, because I remember, like, hearing this character's name. I just couldn't remember the context or the details. Like, I remembered something vague. And that did hold some significance, I would say. Which is like Ikariam, for example, who is one of the characters.
Yeah.
He is mentioned in Gardens of the Moon
But
as being,
just in passing.
Yeah. As being like a half jag hut or something.
Yeah.
Who is known for his inventions and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's sometimes seen wandering around, and he's normally sticks to himself. That's sort of mentioned, I think, along those lines. But I don't remember who mentioned it and what the implication was when they mentioned it.
I can even tell you because now you see because you mentioned that when I was finishing Gardens of the Moon.
Yeah.
So I have the benefit of going straight from Gardens into the next book. So I have at least some memory of where it was.
Yeah.
Again, this might be a spoiler for Gardens of the Moon.
Yeah.
So, pinch of salt. If you've not read Gardens of the Moon, please read it and listen to our episode.
Yeah. You will float. I would say don't read this book if you haven't read Gardens of the Moon.
Yeah. Someone lied to me, actually.
Yeah, a few people have told me that they have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
I strongly disagree.
Yeah, the complete,
because it is like, I guess the plot is different, but what is going on in the world is a direct result of what happened in Gardens of the Moon.
Exactly, yeah.
So I would say that you will float a lot more harder.
If you've not read Gardens
If you've not, yeah.
In fact, you know what? I think I'd even wager. I'd say that you would not understand the entire story.
Yeah, like
if you haven't read Gardens of the Moon.
One of the squads, because I'm going a little off. Getting. What did you want to say? Between like where it was mentioned about Ikariam.
Sorry. I could tell you the exact place where it was mentioned because it was during one of the conversations between Baruch and Anomandarik.
They mention him.
Yeah, because Baruch mentions Ikariam. And then Rick is like, wait, you know about Ikariam? And then they have a short discussion about it.
Oh my god. Okay.
So I was like, so you know now when now Deadhouse Gates opens.
Yeah.
This is no spoiler, but it opens with Ikariam.
Yes, he's literally the first character.
He's the first character you're introduced to. So I was like, oh wait, so that's the guy that was mentioned in the...
Yeah.
Because the name is vaguely familiar.
Yeah. I think someone else also mentions him in Darujistan. But yeah.
Yeah.
Like...
So it was in that whole Darujistan chapter.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I see him and I was like, oh, damn, he's the guy who was... Then now the connections start coming through. So I'm actually, guys, someone lied to me telling me that these books aren't related. But now when you put it that way, when... It's the content of what happens in this story is unrelated to what happened in Gardens, but it's a direct result of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So please read. You have to read one to get the other one.
Yeah. So what the similarities? I guess. Okay. So this is what's similar with Erikson's writing. He's got the same squad based system of gameplay. No.
Turn-based.
It's squad. Yeah, it's squad based. So like in Gardens of the Moon, you had like the bridge burners had their own plot that they were going through. You had Tattersale's shenanigans. You had Perrin and Lorne, who had their story. It's similar here, where you
Just that now
have
they've rotated around.
it's different. It's some new squads. You have a character called you've mentioned Ikariam and Mappo.
Yeah.
They're a squad.
That's one story.
They have their plot going on.
Yeah.
You have now this is a mix of two squads from Gardens of the Moon. You have the Bridge Burners with some of the Daru crew.
Yeah.
I won't tell you how they get together.
Yeah,
but
you
have,
get it at the end.
Yeah, you get it at the end of Gardens, and they're in this book.
Yeah.
And they have their own plot.
Yeah.
And
There's another
it's arguable about how that plot ends. But and then there is Perrin's little sister.
Yeah.
Who has her own plot and her own squad. And that is a story in itself. And then you have the main story of the book, which is I would say it's the main plot of Deadhouse Gates. It's the plot of the Imperial Historian Diker and Coltane.
Yeah.
Which
the
has
new fist.
Yes. The new fist?
Yeah, he's a fist.
He is a fist. But he's not the he is.
Yeah, he's a new fist.
Yeah, he's an okay. So you have his story, their plot.
Their thing, yeah.
So again, different squads, and they all intertwine the same way as they did in Gardens of the Moon. Yeah. The thing with this book is it takes place directly after, as we've said, of the events of Gardens of the Moon. It doesn't take place on the same continent, right?
Yeah.
But like the plot for this book is set up, or rather rumored, even in Gardens of the Moon. It's about rebellion.
Yeah.
And 7 cities are going to rebel.
Yeah.
And it's mentioned there. And because of what happens, I guess you could argue that the way Gardens of the Moon concluded kind of also sparks the rebellion. You can argue about that as well. Because how, like, I don't want to spoil it, but
no spoilers. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to spoil Gardens either. Like, the fate of what happened to someone and could have sparked weakness in the Empire and led to rebellion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there are two significant things that happen in Gardens concerning the political structure of the Empire. And they're pretty significant. One is, I'll just say, one is a certain someone gets outlawed or decides to go rogue with his own army. Okay? Hence, there's now a new fist. Coltane is the new fist. Right? And, someone else dies in Gardens. And now there is a new that person.
Yeah.
So...
And the weird thing about it is, from these guys, like, you see these characters in Gardens of the Moon.
You're right.
But now these two events are like breaks. Imagine like they're like two... Imagine firing a bullet through a mirror, through a window.
Yeah.
You have the hole that these people have left, and the cracks now go outwards from there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's what Deadhouse Gates is all about. All the little things that connect you to those major events, those two big bullet holes that happened in Gardens of the Moon, we're spidering out now and watching the cracks on the entire sheet of glass now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some characters who you don't see. From Gardens of the Moon. There is no Anamanda Rake. He is mentioned several times, but he's not in the book. There are some bridge burners who aren't with Clam guys, but their story... So this book goes alongside the next book, Memories of Ice, apparently. This is what I've gathered.
Yeah,
and I think that follows now the other crews that we don't...
And I hope it's concurrent. I hope that while this is happening...
Yes, that takes place... that takes place back on the other continent. So again, this story takes place on a new continent. It is called 7 Cities. And it is a continent because I have looked at the maps. So when reading this book, I was like, I really need maps. I really need to understand where everything is.
I remember
And I
that
found
phone
them. They're guys who have made fan-made maps because Erikson didn't actually share them. So guys have put them together, and they're fairly accurate for the most part. So whereas Gardens of the Moon took place mostly on Genabacchus, the continent of Genabacchus, this one takes place on the continent of Seven Cities.
Yeah.
And it is a big continent, and it is described as mainly like desert and dry and arid and stuff.
And the reason why I was listening to the audiobook and reading the ebook at the same time is, the descriptions of and the names of the places. Like I'm one of those guys who likes getting into the whole world of something. Like I get sucked in by the lore. So I'll want to get like the spellings right and the names of these places. Because even in Gardens of the Moon, like I remember when I told you, I say like the names of the Warrens. Mm-hmm. I say them to myself when I'm doing like random stuff so I can just remember them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that there are 3 Elder Warrens. As at book 1, I knew there were 3 Elder Warrens. That information was expounded on in this book.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So now I say them like as a mantra to myself. So yeah, sorry, I'm digressing. But yeah, so the names of like even the cities, the names of places. There's a place, this is no spoiler, but there's a place called the Holy Desert Raraku.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the desert, the name is Raraku. And it's huge. And they're actually 2 deserts, they're just divided right down the middle. So I just wanted to get the names and stuff. So if you only listen to the audiobook, you will listen to how they're pronounced. You won't get how they're specifically written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even some of the names are completely different from the way, like Diker.
Yes. Yeah.
I would spell it Dyker.
Yeah.
But it's actually spelled Dui.
Yeah.
Okay, something like so. I was like,
But that said, I really like the descriptions that Erikson has.
Oh God, yeah.
Like everything that he's done for Seven Cities. Like I thought Janabakis was a deep continent because of all the stuff that he described back there.
Yeah, but he mainly talks about just Darujistan as well, though.
When he talks, he was talking about Darujistan, and Darujistan felt like this deep and rich history.
Yeah.
Then you're introduced to Seven Cities, and you're like, what?
What the hell?
There's even more.
Yeah, it's quite.
It's quite wow.
So I would say that's again one kind of. For me, that's a negative, because I did feel quite overwhelmed listening to the first 2 chapters. I got over it, but like I needed those maps just to get my head around
the sense of
all
scale
all these names that were being thrown at me.
Yeah.
From this new continent of 7 cities, because they refer to all the 7 cities in 7 cities.
Yeah.
As you know, this place has the rebellion. This place might be safe. This place might be not safe. And then at the same time, this book introduces a whole bunch of races.
Yeah.
That
totally different races
from what you've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
are
interesting. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't know whether you had the same thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of representation, in quotes.
Yeah, so the way I picture 7 Cities guys, I picture them as African.
Yes.
And specifically North
African, yeah.
Is the way I picture them. Of course you have some of them who are blue.
Yes.
Okay.
but they don't tell you whether it's actual body paint or is it the actual skin?
No, their skin is blue.
It's a skin color. Okay.
There's a tribe that's blue. They go and they're weird. You'll get there. They're weird. But their name starts with S.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then there's the Wiccans, who are on the side of the Empire. The New Fist is a part of them. And Dean was actually the one who said that they're very Red Indian.
Yeah.
I also pictured them as like Red Indian, but somehow Zulu for some reason.
Okay, that's random,
No, because they also seem very African.
Yeah, they do.
And for me, Native Americans always seem like sort of like less aggressive and more like spiritual. These guys are more like warriors. Take everything we can, and let's see what we can do with it. They're pretty badass. So like, but then again, their race is divided into clans. So the leader, Coltane, he's part of the Crow clan, and with him on this trip, there's the Weasel clan and the Laughing Dog clan.
So it feels very Native American.
Yeah. So I expect a Bear clan maybe one day.
That must be.
Let's see. Shit. Okay. So yeah, there are a lot of races. There are a lot of new races. There's even I don't remember the Trell being in Gardens of the Moon, but Mappo is a Trell.
Yeah, Mappo is a Trell.
I don't remember if we encounter them. I don't know. Did Tatersail?
I think maybe one of her buddies was a Trell.
Right?
I think so.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
And again, I confused Barghasts with Trell as well.
Because the descriptions are also
because like there's a guy in the Bridge Burners who has these tattoos and stuff. I always like when I read Trell, I just pictured him for some reason, and then I remember no wait, he's Barghast. He's a different race as well. Again, the Moranth were mentioned, but you don't see them in this book at all.
Now in this book, there's the Bokaral.
The Bokaral. Now, you also have like lots of animal species who are introduced, and one of them is the Bokaral. They're like winged monkeys.
But you do see a winged monkey in Gardens of the Moon. You just don't know what it is. Then you get on this new continent and...
it's Corcus's pet. We can say that's not such a big spoiler.
But then now you get onto this new continent and they're just an animal.
There's so many.
Well, it was exotic in this other place. The common place here.
I think that's fantastic.
That's cool.
And there are more. You get that little worm, serpent, centipede thing in the ocean.
What's it called? The Denrabi.
Yes. And this is a chapter 2 thing. But that was dope. that was really dope. Cool. That was dope.
You know what? I'll say this. We'll have a mini spoiler section at the end of this where I can gush about the things that I've read about.
No, please don't.
I need that release.
We'll wait.
Or we'll do it.
We'll do it together.
We'll do it off recording.
Because
dude,
I don't want to.
Like I lost it.
The Denrabi.
Not even just
or
that.
just the
like
the soul taken, the divers. These are all species.
All species and things. Like I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah. So there's a lot.
Like if you thought Gardens of the Moon was... Gardens of the Moon is a deep book. And if you thought that as a book one, that's an introduction. Where that they're throwing you in the deep end with all the explanations and whatnot. Deadhouse Gates is just as deep as Gardens of the Moon.
I think what Deadhouse does different is it is... it's not got those OP moments. Of like, because Gardens of the Moon had that a lot. A lot of people describe Deadhouse to me as it being a lot slower, and it is kinda, but I think it's more of the lack of OP moments where there's like Amanda Rake shows up and he has a sword and it oozes power and everyone feels this Reiatsu crushing them down, or there's none of that really. Well, there's moments. There's bits of it. There's moments of that with one character, but it's nowhere as near as menacing as it was in Gardens. Of
but
when that stuff happened. Like even the whole fight in Gardens that happens at the start with that pyramid city. Moonspawn, and when
you see it as a pyramid. Okay, I read it differently. I think it's
the floating city. But that whole thing is like grandiose insanity, right? This book doesn't have that.
It doesn't have that.
There's what the hell did I just happened moments, but it's not like got that what is what like that shock and awe stuff. And also Deadhouse is very gory. Comparatively,
very
super gory. And there's like a lot of rape. There's a lot of violence. They describe... Okay, it's not the most violent thing I have read. But they do talk about babies being impaled.
Yeah.
That's
So if you're
I
easily
think,
triggered, kind of...
that's how they'll describe it, as they don't go into too much detail. Like, I have read worse, to be honest. If you've read Blood Meridian, this is nowhere as nearly as violent as that book.
Okay.
Which was a bit too much, in my opinion, that one. But yeah, like, it's just, over here, I think the gore is described as a matter of fact kind of thing. Without going into the super
It's not in it for
details.
to glorify the gore.
Yeah.
Or anything.
It's more of like telling you what's
This is
happening.
information. This is how it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
It's not trying to shock you.
Yeah. But I'll also say this.
Yeah.
For those OP moments,
Yeah.
they're not as big, but there's a thing that Erikson does in this book where he'll mention something that sounds almost throwaway.
Yeah.
Like it seems like a throwaway description or just an added line to the description.
Yeah.
But when you stop and you listen, or maybe when you stop and you pay attention to that, that's when it hits you, oh my God, this is insane. Like, this makes absolutely no sense. This is crazy. So it takes me to that OP level of whatever.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying I want to gush about specific things. Like, I've been gushing about them with Dean, but I want to talk to you about those
Okay,
things.
we'll talk about it after.
Yeah. So I'll also say that just pay attention. Pay attention to,
unless it's in the first. I'll allow.
Even in the
three
first
chapters.
Even in the first 3 chapters, there's stuff that's mentioned
Yeah.
that is crazy. That is full on crazy. Like, I don't know how it happens. But it's because it's sandwiched in between other things. So it doesn't seem that big of a deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to know.
I don't know whether I mention it and just leave it at that.
What? Yeah.
Like Ikariam's arrows.
Huh?
Okay, I'll tell you separately. But yeah, for me, the initial description of Ikariam's arrows just blew my mind. And I was like,
I don't actually remember that.
Okay, I'll tell you separately. But.
Okay.
And it was more actually with the Ikariam story that I was seeing those things.
You could say that the OP moments happen specifically just with Ikariam in this book.
And Kalam.
No.
At all? Like, okay, I've seen Kalam do stuff, man.
Kalam is a badass.
Yeah.
But he's nowhere. He's no Anamanda Rake.
He's no Rake. Yeah. The wish.
Ikariam has potential. Let me put it that way.
There's another bit, and it wasn't even to do with like those guys. It's okay. Wait.
Don't spoil it.
No, it's not spoiler. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. But I'm like, the guys. Okay, in the Gordon's crew, part of the Bridge Burner crew. Mm-hmm. You know the way like some of those characters you're introduced to, and you don't get like a big feel of them.
Yeah.
At that point, because they're not the major character.
Yeah.
Because in Gardens, it's mostly Paran, Kalam, Quickman.
Yes.
Those are the main guys.
Yeah.
But now in this one,
Fiddler is the MVP.
Fiddler is
Fiddler is the MVP in this book. He is.
Fid is crazy.
Yeah, Fid's awesome.
I was really surprised. I was very pleasantly surprised.
Yes. He gets better and better as
it's like,
the thing goes on.
The only thing that I can say is, imagine if there were like extra chapters in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And you got to see the story of like the other 2 hobbits.
The other 2 hobbits had their own fight somewhere else.
If Merry and Pippin now got to be badass on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
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 That's also one of the things that blew me away. Like, it's mentioned in passing. Yeah. Some of the things that he ends up getting wrapped up in.
Yeah, you find like in Gardens, like Fiddler is like Whiskey Jack. He really respects Fiddler.
Yeah,
but you've never had a feeling of why. In this book, he is literally like he's telling Kalam what to do.
Yeah.
And they're discussing it together and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
and yeah, he really shows his muscle
Yeah.
in this book. He's the MVP in this book.
So yeah, some things like happened to Fid that really surprised me, and I was like, that's worth. I feel that needs to be explained a bit deeper, but now the story moves on. So I'm like, I know I'm gonna get it later, but I'm like, the anticipation is now what's killing me. I'm gonna get the explanation later, but yeah.
So Fiddler is a sapper, and you will learn stuff about sappers in this book later on.
Okay, good.
And I think sappers are just kind of unique wild cards. Is the conclusion that I have drawn. But yeah, there's so much. So you just find out more stuff about even the Empire,
Yeah.
and you find like in this book, there's some major not spoilers, but there's some major reveals.
Yeah.
There's stuff to do with the Emperor. A lot of stuff to do with the Emperor in this book. There's a lot of stuff to do with who the current Empress is.
Yeah.
What the hell is with Shadow Throne? There's a lot.
Like
There's a lot
even
going
some
on
of the
here.
characters, like we get a feel of the history of people like Kalam and others.
Yes.
Because now we're going to the ancestor. We're going to their home. This is their home.
Yes,
continent.
yeah. You basically, you learn quite a lot about Kalam.
Yeah. So we learn a lot about these other guys also.
Yeah. And Kalam. So let's go back to the squad. So everyone has their own mission. Ikariam and Mappo's plot is to figure out why Ikariam can't remember anything.
Yeah.
Okay? And Mappo is clearly onto something. He knows some stuff. And he's unwilling to share that with his best friend Ikariam.
Yeah.
And Ikariam at the same time knows that Mappo knows stuff about him. And also worries about why he can't do that. But they're friends, and they're good friends.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. They have their plot.
Yeah.
Kalam's crew have their own plot. It's set in chapter 2.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say what it is.
Don't.
Because for me, when they described that, I was like, what? I can't believe they're going to do this. I'm like, I just laughed.
Yeah.
I literally laughed. I'm like, that's what they're doing. Because it's alluded to. Like Fiddler's on the roof talking with Parra.
Fiddler on the roof.
Yeah, Fiddler on the roof. He's talking with Whiskey Jack, and I think towards the end it's described as the monumental task that lay ahead was how it was described. So you basically learn what that is in chapter 2. And they have that plot. That plot kind of concludes. It concludes in an unsatisfactory way for me, which I'll talk about in more detail in the spoiler section. In the spoiler episode.
Okay.
I'm going to need to get used to saying
Episode,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Then there is... so there's Mappo, Ikariam. There's the crew of Daika. Daika is the Imperial historian. So his task is to document important things that happen with the Empire and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And so Daika is in 7 cities, and he's following what happens with this new fist and what's happening with the rebellion and that kind of stuff. Okay? The new fist is very... Because he's not like an Imperial. He's from a different race, so he does things in a different way.
Yeah.
And basically, his story is when 7 cities is when 7 cities is rebelling in all the major 7 cities. Coltane is tasked with protecting all the citizens. What does he do? Right? What does he do? How does he protect everyone? What's his next move? This is the main story of Deadhouse Gates.
Okay.
Though it has nothing to do with the actual Deadhouse Gates, which is what the book name is, which I will talk about in the spoiler section. Spoiler episode. Yeah. Felician's story is she was Pran's youngest sister. We find out that the ramifications of what Perrin has done in Gardens of the Moon affect her directly.
Yeah.
And as a result, she is imprisoned. And it's her story. Her plot is what happens when she's imprisoned.
Yeah. How does she move on?
That's where I'll leave it.
Yeah. How does she move on from
and
that?
what happens? Yeah. And that's her plot.
That's her story.
And her plot is not concluded.
Oh, good. So she's okay. That means she's going to show up later.
Yeah, her plot is not concluded. Mm-hmm. The Coltane Diker story concludes, mm-hmm. which is why I think Deadhouse is about that. Mm-hmm. Kalam's plot sort of concludes. Mm-hmm. It is very unsatisfactory.
Okay.
And Mappo and Ikariam's plot is not concluded, though you have answers.
Okay.
At the end of the book, you have some.
A bit
answers.
more light has been shed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at the same time, again, this book drops hints at plots that go on further. Okay. So the seeds will be laid out for what the next book will be about,
and even like
arguably what the entire saga will be about. But I don't know, because the way Kalam's plot gets concluded in this is so quick. I thought it would be unconcluded.
Yeah.
But it gets concluded.
Okay.
So it's a little weird. And again, I have no idea what will happen next, because there's a lot of info that you get from I wanted to say NPCs, like from side characters, and they're not all trustworthy. So you don't even know if they're actually telling the truth or if they're lying, because they could be lying very easily. And there's a lot of that's going on in this book. So I don't know. I really have to read more to find out.
I want to catch up, then we can move on together.
Because there's so much stuff to speculate on, which we'll talk about in the spoiler episode. But those are the plots.
It's actually funny that you mentioned NPCs.
Yeah.
Because while I was reading,
such a good game. This would be such a good game,
dude. They actually wrote this as a D&D campaign.
Really?
Yeah. This was all just their own, like, whatever.
Who they?
Steven Erikson.
He wrote this as a D&D.
It was like it was a tabletop RPG.
I'd love to play this. I'd love to play this.
So, like, because of that is what I thought you knew.
No, I was wondering if there was one, because I'd love to play this.
Because him and I think Esselmont, the guy who wrote the other books in the Malazan series, the two of them had come up with this story like in the 80s and 70s for a tabletop RPG. So they wrote it all out and they had an idea of what it's gonna be. When he sold book one, he sold rights for book one for 10 books. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then because of that is when now he finished the entire Malazan series.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is technically like a game. That's why it feels very familiar for us.
Yeah, it does. It does feel like a D&D thing.
Yeah, it feels like... That's why I think it's also squad-based.
Yes. This makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah.
And it works really well. I like it.
Yeah,
I really like
nice. It's really, really nice.
And again, the pacing of this book is slower. So the tone of this book is about rebellion and survival.
Yeah. Okay? And it's a lot darker than...
And it is grueling.
Yeah.
It is grueling and it is slow. And the reason for why is it is building that desperation. I thought it was artistically done because it does kind of build the immersion, I guess, because they're in a desert.
Yeah.
I mean, survival is a thing in the desert.
Yeah.
They don't have wood. Like, there are moments where some characters are going to be counting the amount of puddles they reach.
Yeah.
Okay? So it is pretty desperate. I would call this book desperate in terms of survival.
Even this whole new continent is just a lot more unforgiving.
Oh yeah.
Than
Genebak.
Anything on Genebak.
Yeah, Genebak had hills, it had trees
Genebak is what like standard fantasy setting.
Yeah, this is desert. This is deserty.
Hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The heat, the weather is against you, the wildlife is against you.
Yeah.
Wow, and the wildlife
Is
is really nasty in this place. God, the wildlife is nasty.
like even the introduction with
Just the opening, yeah.
just the opening
with those
was
flies.
just, it was just special. I was like,
Wow.
damn, okay.
Yeah. The wildlife is a huge
They
thing.
remind
in this
me
book.
of
There's
those of the botflies in Dishonored.
wait for the. Have you
The desert
encountered
ones.
blood flies?
Yeah, I remember that. I've seen them in the desert. Those ones reminded me of the Dishonored ones.
Yeah, blood flies are wow. But yeah, like so the wildlife is a real piece of something in this book.
Yeah.
And I think those are I guess the major differences from Gardens, because none of that was there.
Yeah.
The most we got in Gardens was the hounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the only animals really.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. Yeah, those were the only animals, and Mammoth's little Bokarl pet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond that, they were
Yeah.
just regular. Like even this one, even the horses are special.
Yeah, yo, and so again, a lot of the races they have their own cultures.
Yeah.
Again, and a lot of them really have so much respect for horses, to the point where they have a faction in their army that's just dedicated to looking after horses. And this is very commonplace for this whole continent.
Yeah.
So it's amazing, I think.
You feel it really does draw you into the culture
Yeah.
of the place.
I think it's just masterful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah. I guess my main gripe with this book is the way Kalam's plot went,
Okay.
which I will talk about in the spoiler episode. But it's still good.
So we won't do ratings now. We'll do the rating.
No, I'm happy to give my rating. You can hold off till you finish the book.
No, I can give you a rating up to where I've reached the 1/3.
No. Finish it.
I can give a
Trust
rating.
me.
I can give a 1/3
Finish
rating and then finish. So we see the comparison, whether the book goes up or down from there.
Okay, fine.
So what would you give?
It's still a 9 out of 10.
Damn, okay, cool.
Yeah. Though I enjoyed it more than Gardens.
I think we're enjoying this more than Gardens because we're used to it. Like, we've been introduced to it, into how we're going to read this book. So it's not as grueling as it was.
For me, it's the way he wrote the ending for this book that really, really cements this book as what this is the best book I've ever read. Yeah,
More than Gardens.
more than Gardens.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll when we do the spoiler episode, I'll talk about it.
I'm giving.
But I really like the way he wrote stuff.
Okay.
This guy's writing is just
Amazing.
insane. Yeah. In terms of characters, I think my favorite character throughout this book is Fiddler, and I kind of like Pust.
Okay.
I won't say why, but
No, don't
I
say anything.
really do like Fiddler. I really do like Pust. Pust is this character who you're introduced to, and he's nuts. And so I like him because he's nuts, but he's also nuts.
Yeah.
So I like those two characters. That's all I'll say. And I think my least favorite character throughout the entire book is Felician.
Okay.
Yeah.
My favorite as of now. Okay, I'd give it a rating of 8. I'd give it an 8 rating. Partly because it's making me engage with it on more than one format, on more than one platform. Because I'm reading it, I'm listening to it, I'm looking at artwork for the races, I'm looking at the maps. I never really check wikis or check references for characters when I meet them, but I find myself increasingly looking up these characters and trying not to read the spoilers about them. I succeed most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's getting me like really, really interested into both the characters and the lore of the world around it. So I give it an 8 because of that. And the action comes in. It's not that much, but it's good. It moves the story. It's not action for action's sake. Then my favorite character so far has been Fiddler's MVP, but I'll have to give it to
Uncle is also dope.
Yeah,
Uncle in this book is dope as well.
I'll have to give it to Ikariam for me, because his story is just that much more compelling for me.
Ikariam, yeah.
My least favorite, I don't know. There's just something about Crocus that just pisses me off.
Yeah. He's doing the whole innocent thing.
Yeah, and it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, after everything you've been through, you're still like, okay, cool.
I want.
Leave it there.
Yeah.
I'll wait to see whether my thoughts will be changed.
So here's another thing. If you haven't read Gardens of the Moon, they're going to be talking about Absalar's situation a lot.
Yeah.
At no point in this book does it explain properly what that means.
Yeah.
And Gardens of the Moon deals with that directly.
Yeah, so you have to.
So like, this is another thing that if you haven't read Gardens of the Moon, you're going to float so hard.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, I think that's it, really.
Yeah, that's pretty much
right?
It. Yeah,
that's all we can talk about without going into spoilers.
Yeah.
I will say this book is worth reading. If you've read Gardens,
well, yeah, 100%.
definitely don't do what I did. Do not wait. Pick this book up next. I think you'll be hooked. I think this book is kind of slower to get going.
But it's very satisfying. Like, for me, I'm really happy that I did not wait between books.
Yeah, it has one of the best conclusions I've ever read in a book.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you will feel things. This book will make you feel things, is how I will put it. So, have fun.
Okay.
Yeah, and catch us next time for the spoiler episode.
Yeah.
And if you want to know what game we're doing next, it's my pick.
What are you picking?
I'm picking Spec Ops: The Line, which was one of your nominees.
Yeah.
But it's been on my list as well for a while, and some of the comments when guys were voting on it kind of
piqued your interest.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't stop thinking about when am I going to try it.
So we'll do it.
So yeah.
So maybe the next episode will be on Spec Ops?
No. The next one will be the spoiler episode.
Okay.
For this. And we'll wait till you're ready.
Okay.
And then we'll do Spec Ops.
Okay. Cool.
And let us know, by the way, if you're okay with this format, doing spoiler-free episodes and then a separate spoiler episode. If that works for you guys, let us know as well. It might be fun to do, I think.
We'll just try it out. That's it.
Yeah.
Because if there's anything that deserves 2 episodes, it's this book.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Ooh,
There's another spoiler episode. Yo.
Yeah.
We'll now have 100% freedom to talk now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you haven't read it between now and then, you're lucky. We have extra time.
Yeah.
Let's try and make use of it.
And seriously, if you like video games and you like good stuff, you should be reading these books. You deserve. If you've been good, do this book. Just try and push through the first 3 chapters.
Yeah.
They get really good. This one takes a little longer, but trust me, it is worth it. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Okay. Catch you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Do you have an opinion on what we just discussed? Did we miss something? Tell us in the comment section and we'll read it in the next episode. If you're listening on Anchor, send us a voice message and we'll add it to this episode. Don't forget to follow our podcast on Twitter @SpoilFans for updates, and follow our Instagram for behind-the-scenes action @SpoilersInFandom. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube and Anchor to get the latest episodes.